Hi everybody, my name is Mike Tomorrow and I want to welcome you to the latest episode of My Life with Asperger's. Today's topic I'm going to be talking about is preferences. Now, everybody has a set of preferences on how they want to live their lives. And it's okay to have a set of preferences because that's the way the world works. You know, I have preferences on what my home should look like. I have a preference on where I want to live. I have a preference on what type of vehicle I should drive, what type of job I should have, the type of church I go to, the food that I eat. Everything has a preference. A personal preference, I should say. And that happens to everybody. Aspies have that effect too, that they want to have it preferred a certain way in their life. I feel that I need to have life in a certain way. I prefer to have life in a certain way, I think. In the way I do things at work, or how I watch my shows on TV, or the way I eat things, or the way I drink things, the way I drive. Everything has a preference. Yet you also have to be flexible in this world. Because if you are not flexible, then, you want the same things all the time. I think Aspies have a problem with that as well. I know I do. And it's hard to break through the mold. But for me, my preferences is, it seems like I want to live here in Florida. I felt when I first came to Florida that I knew that it would be a great place for me to live, and I could probably get a job in the tourism industry down here in Florida. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the Disney College program and explore with them and see if I could get a job with Disney and, get a higher up job with Disney, but things have not been working out that well either. I love Disney. I still have my job at Disney and I love it. But you know what I mean. Orlando is the #1 travel destination on the globe. Family travel destination, I should say. And I figure, why don't I try to get a job in this industry that I call travel? Because since I was a young kid, I could tell directions to one place to another, or maps, and used to draw maps when I was a kid. And that would be a perfect profession for me. Well, not drawing maps, but, get into the travel field. That's what I mean. One of the reasons why Florida drew me to live here and have a job here is because the AAA headquarters is in Heathrow, which is up the road from me. Their headquarters are in Heathrow. I tried getting a job there like once or twice. I tried filling out applications to work at their corporate headquarters. And that's why I think I was driven to work here in Florida. But I do have a preference that I still want to live here and not live in Massachusetts, because I know that if I lived in Massachusetts, life would be different for me, and life would take a change, in Springfield, there are barely any jobs in the travel industry. Whereas in Orlando, there's possibilities, So I've been going on LinkedIn to see what those possibilities are. And I prefer to get a job here in Florida. Preferences, they are things that we need to change sometimes. And I do enjoy living in Davenport. And I live here because it's the cheapest option for me. And I prefer living at a place where it's cheap for me to live. Even though I'm like middle of nowhere out here, there's barely anything. You know, I like the quietness out here at Davenport. It's almost like my friends who lived in the hill towns while I went to high school. Because of where they lived and the isolation that they had. And, well, there's town centers and all, but, you know, they prefer to live in the hill towns because it's quieter up there. You know, it's beautiful up there. And I was living in Agawam at the time. So I had to live there, and I had to go up to school, high school up there, doing 25 miles one way to get up to school, and 25 miles one way home. You know? But I really enjoyed my time up there, going to school. But anyways, preferences, you know, everyone has a preference on how things should get done. Like, food. I like to have pizza. Preferably on Friday nights. And I know that hasn't happened for me for like a few weeks now. And I prefer to watch TV when I come home from work. Because it's a great way for me to relax and we'll see what's going on. And I like to watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. I prefer to watch it in that order. And I'm thankful for the television station down here that serves it that order. Well, enough about that. But I test my brain by watching those shows. You see, you can get smarter by watching those shows. By watching game shows, you can get smarter. And you heard it first from me. I know some game shows are crazy, but, you know. But you have word puzzles to test your mind. And you have trivia questions to test your mind. You know, those type of shows I really love watching. You know? And I prefer to watch those shows. You know? Another preference is a car. Ever since my terrible mishap with my car, I have been carless. I have no car. But I prefer to buy another car. The type of car I prefer is a gas saver. So like those Honda Civics, Honda Accords, Toyota Camrys, Toyota Corolla, Nissan Sentras, Ford Escorts, don't know if they still make them, Ford Focuses, Chevrolet Impala, Chevrolet Malibus. You know what I mean. Now, I prefer to have a foreign-made car, because that's the cars my parents drive. But, however, I cannot buy a foreign-made car. Well, I could if I wanted to. The cheapest ones are the American-made brands. You know? And there are some reliable cars that I saw online that I really liked. So, you never know. Now, preference when I come to travel. Do I like traveling by car or do I like traveling by airplane? The only time I travel by airplane is in February when I go up to Massachusetts for the annual RV show to work at that. The rest of the time, I drive by car everywhere. You know, I prefer driving over flying because I get to see more of the country that way. You know, back in January, I was going to go up to Little Rock, Arkansas for a job, for training for a job. Now, I was going to prefer to drive to Arkansas because I get to see new places I never saw before, you know, and travel through states I never saw before, instead of flying. And that way, too, I can have a car. Like, another example of this is when I did the Disney College program, I preferred to drive from Massachusetts to Florida instead of flying. And tell you why on that is because I can have a car while I was in the program. And if I wanted to take off and go on trips to areas that I wanted to explore, I could do that on my days off too. As if I were to fly down, and then I would have to depend on the buses to bring me everywhere, and that would have not worked out well. So I think choosing to take the car with me was the absolute positive decision I have made regarding my life with the Disney College program. I prefer to have a car because when I can go into work a little later than having to wait for a bus. Then I could get out earlier and I don't have to wait around for another bus to take me back. You see what I mean? So if I had a car, I could drive there, work, and then when I got off work, drive back home without doing any more waiting. But, I really do enjoy having a car. And I did enjoy having a car. And I hope to have another car. I prefer to have another car than walk around or have rides take me all over the place, I do thank everybody for their help on bringing me to church and work and supermarket and doctor appointments. But at the same time, I prefer to have a car of my own so I could drive it to the places I need to go and, So I'm hoping to get a new car real soon. Pray that I will have a new car real soon. And I prefer to have a new car real soon. Well, it's not going to be that new, but you get the idea. Anything I get out of the car, I consider it brand new for me. Because it's a new experience. Though the car may not be new. The car may be like 5, 10, 15 years old. Hopefully it's not 15 years old. I'm aiming towards 10 years old. If I had to. But anyways, preferences are things we need to watch out for. Everybody has personal preferences and we have to respect that as well. Just like also, I prefer to live on my own than living with my mom and dad. And I prefer to live on my own because I'm 29 years old now. I need to learn how to grow up here, and I need to learn how to make my own decisions. And I'm not going to be able to do that unless I live on my own. I live on my own right now, but there's a chance I may have to move back in with my mom and dad because of personal reasons. I'm not going to explain to them right here. If I lived with my mom and dad, things are going to be hectic. And it's not going to be comfortable for me to live with them. I prefer that I live on my own than to live with them. And I feel that my life is a whole lot better if I lived on my own than to live with my own parents. I love my parents, but at 29 years old, think about this. I need to live on my own. I need to live by my own, by myself. There is no need for me to live with my mom and dad. I love them. I love to visit them. They love to visit me. I love to visit their home in Key West. But at the same time, I need to have my own space. And I'm not going to get that if I live with my mom and dad. No matter how old I am, 21, yeah, sure. I still lived with them at that point. And most people think moving out of home at 21 is a good thing. I wasn't ready to move out of home at 21 years old. Now, when I did the Disney College program, I wasn't ready to move out either. But then again, I had to make that decision to do it, the Disney College program, because I needed to get life experience. And I wasn't going to find it in Massachusetts, and I wasn't going to find it if I lived with my mom and dad. So I was glad I did the Disney College program, and I was glad that I met everybody from around the world. And I still meet everybody from around the world when I work at Disney. But you got to understand that my age, people my age shouldn't be living with their parents. You know, at 29, I should not be living with my parents. My sister was about the same age as I was when she moved out. Well, you know what I mean. Like, she was like 24 or 25 when she moved out of my parents' house to live with her boyfriend, turned fiance, turned husband, you know? And that has really worked out well for them. You know, my sister and my parents have a better relationship now because of the fact that my sister is living on her own with her husband and her 3 dogs. 2 of them are pugs. You know, I'm trying to build that same relationship with my mom and dad, but it's a strain on them. And I have a strained relationship with my dad growing up. You know, because I was different from my sister. You know? But I don't want to go into details about that with the videos. You know? I don't want to go into details about it because, you know, I'm probably going to be talking about my parents in another video. And this is about preferences. This is not about talking about my parents. You know, so. But I said enough about that. And I do love them. Now, I prefer to live here in Florida than in Massachusetts because I have a job here. My life is here. I go to church every Sunday when I'm here. My view of religion is different than my parents and my grandparents and my sister and all my family members back up in Massachusetts. I go to a different church than they do, and it's more relaxed down here. You know, I feel more relaxed living here. I can exercise every day if I want to outside, as long as it's not raining or chilly. But there's no snow on the ground. I can walk from here to the pool every single day in my bare feet. And I really enjoyed that. You know? And I can go swimming every day if I wanted to, too. When it's not raining or cold outside. You know? But you have to understand that personal preferences can overtake someone else's preferences as well. Like maybe my parents prefer to have me live with them again. I thank them for their offer. But at this time, I'm going to have to pass on it. I know my mom's not feeling that well. And I'm not going to explain that here. But at the same time, I need to do what I think is going to be the best career move for me and the best move on my life. You know? And that's why I prefer to live on my own down here. You know? It's nothing against anybody. But at 29 years old, I need to make a preference to live on my own. So, on that note, I'm going to leave it. And hopefully I'll see you guys on another episode of My Life with Asperger's. I'll talk to you guys all later.